As if a world outside time wasn't enough, we're going to talk 90s throwbacks and a look inside Casey's junk drawer as we count down the top 10 Easter eggs inside episode 1 of Loki. If you like what you see, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications so you'll know as soon as we drop new reviews, predictions, and Easter egg videos throughout the series. Stick around till number 10 for a big reveal that no one has mentioned just yet. As expected, there are a ton of eggs hidden in this one, so let's get right to it. As Loki is apprehended and run through the bureaucracy of the TVA, we're treated to a clever telling of the TVA's creation and the mystery of the sacred timeline, courtesy of a cartoon clock named Miss Minutes. And while these videos have a striking resemblance to old safety videos from the 1950s and 60s, the sweet southern accent reminded me of another anthropomorphic character from the 90s as well.
What? Oh, Mr. DNA, where did you come from?
From your blood. Just one drop of your blood contains billions of strands of DNA, the building blocks of life.
These other 90s references are on display throughout the show as we see Mobius sipping on a Josta Cola. This drink was a short-lived Pepsi creation from 95 through 99. Later, we're treated to some shots of Mobius's files and desk as we get a shot of a Wave Runner magazine circa the 1990s as well. We're guessing a character trait of Mobius M. Mobius is his love for the 90s, but that little tidbit has yet to be fleshed out. As Mobius is surveying the crime scene in France, we see the stained glass in the church that resembles a demonic type figure. The easy chant here is Mephisto, given all the hype surrounding the character and theories from WandaVision, and while we can still wait to see how this fleshes out, a simpler explanation might be that a horned helmet Loki simply resembles a demon to a primitive society. Since Mobius tells Loki they'll be going after himself, this theory might be the safer one moving forward. Next, the posters all over the walls of the TVA give us a small hint at the plot, the rules, and the purpose of the TVA. Things like pruning Nexus events and always watching are pretty straightforward, but other posters, such as a tidy desk makes for a healthy timeline, further reinforce the TVA motto, for the timeline always, right down to keeping your workspace clean. Speaking of a clean workspace, our newest friend Casey has quite the collection in his desk drawer.
What's in the box?
This drawer alone is full of eggs such as a French war medal, some old and rather valuable baseball cards, and what looks to be an arc reactor prototype from the Iron Man 1 years. I did get a little overexcited when I saw this piece here, which reminded me of the broken Black Dahlia pendant that Peter gives MJ in Far From Home. Unfortunately, upon further inspection, it only appears to be part of a ceramic bowl with fruit designs on it. Shame, shame. One interesting reference here that definitely has gone unnoticed by most is that when Loki begins examining the drawer of Infinity Stones, he picks up the Time Stone specifically. The real surprise here should be that Loki is actually touching the stone. This is the first time that's happened in the MCU thus far, because every time a character handles the stone, it's shown floating between their fingers. One guess why is that the stone, which controls time, can do so because it's neither in the past, nor present, nor future, so it cannot be handled the same way as the other stones. Since the TVA is outside of time, the stone is simply a rock, and can be touched. Regarding the stones as well, Casey refers to the stones as paperweights for some of the guys, and in the end credits, we see someone's files being held down by what looks like the Soul Stone. As Loki fast-forwards through his life on the projector screens, he gets a glimpse of his own death from the Prime MCU timeline. The portion that is of note is when the tape runs out and reads, "End of file." This egg requires a little bit of thought and some knowledge on other MCU theories, but there's always been the hope out there that Loki was not dead, but simply an illusion that could perhaps return. This end of file tag seems to put that theory to rest, as the TVA simply have no further information on that version of Loki. While he is back for us viewers, we're now treated to a literal comic variant version of Loki that we have not watched up until this point. Remember, this is 2012 Loki, who just a day before was invading Earth with the Chitauri, killing Coulson a few days before that, and blowing up a SHIELD base less than a week prior. His villain rehab program with Mobius may have just been a way for the storytellers to break Loki's character so we can fast forward to the quipping, lovable Loki we all know. Beyond that, the other prevailing theory is that the TVA simply has cobbled together data files on people and events for their own archives, and that this is all the info they have on Loki, as it's the most relevant, leading some to believe that the MCU movies up until this point are simply TVA archive footage that we've all been watching, and the edits may or may not have been giving us the whole picture. That is to say, maybe the recasting of Rhodes between Iron Man 1 and 2 was not really a recasting, but just the TVA airing the wrong footage and then correcting it for us. Number 9 here is less of an egg and more of a catch-up for all of you who didn't catch the new areas and devices being used in the series. Many devices are used but not explained until later, so here's a quick explanation. So far, we've seen the Time Twister, which is a control device much better than handcuffs, which controls the person wearing it and can move them backwards and forwards on their own personal timeline. We've seen reset charges, the idea of pruning the timeline with these charges, and the Time Theater, where interrogations and viewings happen. Hats off to the writers for adding these titles and explanations organically instead of spoon-feeding us when we first see them.
You're now moving at 1/16th speed, but feeling all that pain in real time.
Except, of course, when we do need to be spoon-fed. Lastly, the biggie. If you've Googled it all, you already know that Kang the Conqueror, a time-traveling villain from the year 3000, has been cast in Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, and that the item seen at the end of the Loki episode is tagged as being from the early 3rd millennium, which may or may not be a Kang reference. What you may not have done, like we've just done for you, is to pause and zoom in on the readout that we see. And we notice that this item is called a quantum axe and is manufactured by Advanced Idea Mechanics, or AIM. This organization was started by Adrian Killian and appears in Iron Man 3, but it's also responsible for a lot of really bad things moving forward. Admittedly, some really trippy and cool looking things, but some really bad things nonetheless. There's a ton of other Easter eggs here, and we're sure you'll find them. But for now, we're just starting with these. Tell us your favorites, and don't forget to check out our prediction videos, which will drop on Mondays, along with reviews and Easter egg videos, which drop after each show airs. Happy hunting, and we'll catch you next time.